Welcome back, focused learners. Okay, so have you ever looked at one of those beautifully blended, seamlessly filtered makeup looks and just wondered, how on earth did they get it to look so incredibly smooth? Well, today, this explainer is going to demystify the exact chronological order of makeup application. We're totally taking the guesswork out of the equation so you can build a flawless canvas, layer by layer, whether you're an absolute beginner or just looking to refine your technique. Let's get right into it.
Look, if you've ever stared down your makeup bag and panicked, thinking, wait, what comes first, moisturizer or SPF? Foundation or concealer? What layers over what? You are entirely justified in your confusion. The order of operations in makeup can honestly feel like a complex science experiment. If you mix the wrong textures or apply things out of sequence, you end up with creasing, caking, and just a frustrating mess. Or worse, you look like a powdered ghost in your photos. So let's clear up that confusion once and for all.
To keep things perfectly organized, we're going to follow a really straightforward 5-phase roadmap today. We'll start with prepping your canvas, move on to building a flawless base, sculpt the face with creams, set everything with powder to lock it in, and finally finish with the lips and that ultimate glow. Breaking this whole routine into these specific thematic blocks completely removes the overwhelm.
Starting off with phase 1, prep your canvas first. Remember, always do your skincare before your makeup.
You literally cannot build a masterpiece on a flawed canvas. Applying makeup over untreated texture is kind of like driving on a bumpy road. It just won't be smooth. So push that hair back, especially right around the hairline, and let's hit that essential skincare sequence. Step 1 is a generous layer of hydrating moisturizer all over your face and neck. Really focus heavily on any rough areas or bumps to smooth them out. Oh, and definitely don't forget a lip treatment right now to condition your lips for lipstick way down the line. Step 2 is your SPF. Now, if you're using an SPF 35, it might initially give you a bit of a white cast or look like it's going to cause photo flashback. The secret here? Just trust the process. Keep massaging it in until it completely absorbs and leaves this beautiful glow. And finally, step 3 is primer. Let's look a bit closer at what primer actually does, because its purpose is brilliantly twofold. First, it literally fills in your pores and fine lines, physically smoothing out that bumpy road we just talked about. But second, and this is absolutely vital, it leaves a slightly tacky layer on the skin. Think of this tackiness like double-sided tape. It ensures that when you put your foundation and concealer on top, they're going to cling to the skin. That means your makeup won't move, it won't crease, and it's going to last significantly longer. Moving right along to phase 2, build a flawless base. Let's talk foundation and concealer.
Now, what's really interesting here is how the tool you choose totally dictates your entire finish. If you want maximum coverage, you want to use a soft bristle brush. But if you want a slightly sheerer, more airbrushed finish, reach for a sponge. And hey, here is a golden rule for application. Never ever pump foundation directly onto the tool. Put it on the back of your hand first, then start applying it from the very center of your face and blend outward with dabbing motions. Why? Well, if you start at the outer edges, all the excess product gets stuck in your hairline, and trust me, that is a total nightmare to remove.
Notice how we completely avoided putting foundation under the eyes? That area is reserved strictly for concealer. Layering foundation and concealer under the eye pretty much guarantees a cakey, heavy mess. Just let the concealer do the heavy lifting. Now, your main concealer must be a close match to your skin tone. If you use a concealer that's too light right off the bat, it's going to mix with the purple and blue undertones of your dark circles and immediately turn ashy. And that right there is exactly what causes that awful, ghostly flashback in flash photography.
So to get the absolute most out of your concealer, follow these exact steps. Apply that close match shade to your dark spots and under eye circles. But, and here is a massive pro trick, don't blend it right away. Let it sit for a minute until it becomes just a tad bit dry. Doing this thickens the product slightly and actually gives you significantly more coverage when you finally do blend it out with a brush. Once everything is totally evened out, if you want a little extra brightness, you can take a slightly lighter concealer and just apply it to the very inner corners of your eyes to highlight. All right, phase 3, sculpt with creams. It is time to add some life and dimension back into the skin. Since our base is now perfectly even, it can actually look a little flat, kind of like a blank canvas. So it's incredibly important to understand the fundamental difference between contour and bronzer here. Contour sticks are cool-toned. They lean more gray or ashy brown. This is because they're specifically designed to mimic actual shadows on your face. And natural shadows are, well, gray.
You want to apply this cool contour specifically under your cheekbones, down the sides of the nose, and along the jawline to deepen those hollows. Bronzer, on the flip side, is warm-toned. It mimics a sunburnt, tan look. While you can totally use a bronzing stick to add some dimension, just remember, contour creates shadow, while bronzer creates warmth. Next up, right over that contour on your cheeks, it's time for cream blush. Pick up the product, dab the excess off on the back of your hand, and carefully build it up. The secret placement trick here is to deliberately apply the blush higher up on the cheekbones rather than just right on the apples. Sweeping it upward like that instantly gives the entire face a beautiful, visually lifted effect.
Okay, pause. So the crucial point we need to make right now is this absolute cardinal rule of makeup. Always, always use cream products before you set your face with powder. You simply cannot successfully blend a wet cream blush or liquid contour on top of a dry powder. It'll skip, it'll patch, and it will completely ruin that beautiful base you just worked so hard to perfect. Creams go on wet skin, always. Which brings us to phase 4, set, powder, and lock. It's time to set that base. Because if we stop right now, your beautiful creams are just going to slide off within a few hours. When it comes to setting the face to prevent that, loose powder is vastly superior. Loose powders are finely sifted, which creates that incredibly blurred, real-life Instagram filter effect without looking dry. Pressed compact powders, on the other hand, are generally thicker because they're actually meant to mimic foundation, so setting your whole face with them can quickly look extremely heavy and cakey. Take your loose powder on a puff, dab the excess off on your hand, and gently press it into the areas that crease most first, like under the eyes and around the mouth, before you go ahead and set the rest of the face. And here is the second half of that golden rule we learned a minute ago, and any powder products after you've set your face with powder. Now that your canvas is fully set and dry, it is safe to apply a matte powder bronzer around the circumference of your face and across your nose to add that sun-kissed dimension. And we prefer matte here because shimmers can really emphasize skin texture. You can also sweep on a powder blush right over where you placed your cream blush to brighten it up and lock that color in for good.
Finally, phase 5, lips and final glow, the finishing touches. So the base is completely locked. Let's quickly run through a foolproof lip routine. First things first, use a Q-tip to clean off any old lip balm or debris. When lining, here's a brilliant trick for natural volume. Slightly overline just the topmost cupid's bow and the bottommost point of your lower lip. Then connect back to your natural lip line at the corners. Dab your lipstick right in the center and blend it outward with your fingers so it seamlessly melts into the liner. Finally, use a flat brush with just a tiny bit of concealer to carve out and clean up the outer edges. It completely elevates the look and makes it incredibly crisp.
Now it's time to literally lock the whole shebang in with setting spray. Give it a good shake and spray generously. Setting spray is basically magic because it has two very specific jobs. First, it physically melts all those layers of loose and pressed powders together so they actually look like real human skin again. Second, it locks the makeup down for long-lasting wear. If you happen to notice any large wet droplets sitting on your skin after spraying, just take a dry makeup sponge and gently dab them away so the spray doesn't dry in spotty patches.
And this brilliantly illustrates our final glowing secret. Highlighter goes on after the setting spray, while the face is still just slightly damp. Applying your highlighter to the bridge of your nose, the tip of your nose, and the high planes of your cheekbones when the skin is primed with setting spray gives you maximum pigment payoff. It grips the shimmer intensely, meaning you can use far less product. And that results in a much softer, more naturally radiant glow rather than a harsh, powdery stripe.
And boom, there you have it. By simply following the correct chronological order, you've transformed a textured canvas into an absolutely seamless, flawless base. You've officially mastered the prep, the creams, the powders, and the lock. So the only question left to ask yourself is, now that your skin looks this perfect, are you ready to tackle beginner eye makeup next? Keep practicing these foundational steps, and we'll see you in the next explainer.